The woman was on a secret mission, and because there was no room for her in the cabin, she was placed in the turret in the belly of the plane. Shortly after takeoff, she spots a terrifying winged creature clinging to the underside of the bomber's wing, startling her into calling out to John. As she looks out again, the bat-like monster vanishes in a flash. Adjusting the turret's direction, she's unexpectedly greeted by a Japanese fighter plane circling nearby and reports this to John. However, an impatient John cuts off the communication. As Maud attempts to confront him, the door handle snaps off, trapping her inside the turret. At that moment, the bat monster opens the hatch, and Maud scrambles to close it. With immense strength, the creature nearly breaks through, forcing Maud to block the hole with her finger as a makeshift bolt. Amidst this chaos, her revolver falls, scattering bullets everywhere. Enduring the pain, Maud reaches for the weapon and successfully drives the bat monster away. As she replaces her finger with a screw from under her seat, her finger is twisted at a gruesome angle. Bravely, she sets it straight and binds it with a strip of cloth. Attempting to report the bat monster incident, she's met with mocking laughter over the radio.
Garrett!
Everything's okay down there.
Oh, Jesus. Miss Garrett, you tell me what happened down there.
Yeah, Garrett. You tell the captain why you're taking pot shots at unicorns. Why you're sharpshooting the wings off a Tinkerbell.
Shut up, Dorn, let her speak.
With no one believing her, when an enemy plane swoops from below, Maud seeks permission from John to open fire.
Hello at 3 o'clock.
You want me to give you permission? You wouldn't even know how to fire if I did.
I was being polite.
All stations report now! I'll clear up.
Her relentless shooting brings the enemy down, earning her crew's praises. But then she saw the bat monster again, tearing at the plane's engine. Maud tried to adjust the cannon to aim at the bat monster, but she couldn't aim at the bat monster because of the restricted view angle. At that moment, the bat monster also noticed the bat monster and started crawling towards her, showing its teeth as if it was threatening her. The creature retreats to continue its destruction. At this point, Maud's only concern was whether her suitcase was intact. She lies that it's an important classified document, but John doesn't believe Maud and orders his men to open the case. It turned out to be Maud's plot. She had an affair with a soldier in the army and became pregnant and gave birth to the child. But the man abandoned her and denied the existence of the child. So Maud forged a document, imitating her superior's signature. To escape on this plane, the truth finally revealed. John immediately turns the plane around to head back. But at that moment, Japanese fighters attack again, and a fierce fight breaks out inside the cabin. Then, Maud sees the bat monster outside the plane, clutching the suitcase. Maybe it was the power of motherly love. Maud resolutely opened the hatch and fired several shots at the bat monster. The bat monster is repelled, but the suitcase holding her child teeters dangerously. Maud, with a burst of strength, pulls out a steel rod and reaches for the suitcase, hooking it in the nick of time. Just as it nearly falls, she quickly climbed back into the wing and scrambled to open her suitcase. Seeing her child safe and unharmed, she feels all her efforts have been worth it. Maud gently soothes her baby, telling him not to be afraid. Just then, the enemy plane launches another ferocious attack. Knowing her position is perilous, Maud decides to move into the cabin. She hangs the baby on her chest and carefully climbs down to the cabin entrance through a gaping hole blown open in the plane's belly. She put the suitcase on first, but she stumbled and fell out of the plane due to her physical exertion. It's an absolutely amazing scene. Maud plummets from the plane. A damaged fighter jet flies by just in time. The explosion's shockwave miraculously propels her back onto the plane, unharmed. Tommy's face was also dumbfounded. See, this man's face represents you in front of the screen right now. Before Tommy can recover, he's fatally shot through the chest. Maud, fleeing from a hail of bullets, turns to see Terrence being ambushed by the Bat Monster. Rushing to help, she's knocked over by its tail. Terrence, stumbling, accidentally triggers the plane's bomb bay doors. The Bat Monster lunges to snatch Maud's child, and Terrence, in a rage, engages it. He slips, and both he and the creature fall from the plane. However, the Bat Monster clings to the plane, attempting to re-enter. In a frantic struggle, Maud grabs an iron rod and repeatedly strikes the creature's claws, but to no avail. Angrily, Maud used all her strength to cut off the Bat Monster's tail at the last moment. The Bat Monster spreads its wings and continues its assault. Maud tries using the suitcase to hit the monster, but it cunningly evades her attacks. Suddenly, the plane starts malfunctioning. Teetering on the brink of disaster, Maud urges John to jettison fuel for an emergency landing. A Japanese fighter plane swoops in, strafing them with gunfire. John, the pilot, is hit and dies instantly. Co-pilot Anton followed Maud's advice and started to give up fuel in preparation for an emergency landing, to ensure that the plane would not explode after the crash landing. As the Japanese plane makes another pass, Bradley mans the machine gun and successfully destroys it. But before he can boast, another enemy plane arrives, riddling him with bullets. Walter arrived in time to comfort Maud.
Walt. You're hurt.
I'm here.
Maud rushes back to the turret and unleashes her fury on the second Japanese plane, successfully shooting it down. However, the Bat Monster was still alive and sneaked back into the plane. Entrusting her son to Walter, Maud takes her pistol and fires at the Bat Monster, narrowly missing being shot by a teammate. Thankfully, with their combined efforts, they finally knock the Bat Monster off the plane. After dealing with the creature, Maud swiftly assists Anton in preparing for an emergency landing. Under her composed leadership, the plane safely touches down. However, the impact causes a fire to break out. Quickly spreading, Maud urgently ushers everyone to evacuate. As they escape, the plane explodes in a massive fireball. Luckily, they all survived. Walter, anxiously untying the package, checks on the child, but at that moment, a dark shadow flashes by. The Bat Monster reappears, snatching Maud's child and fleeing across the river. Enraged beyond measure, Maud knocks down the Bat Monster with a club and fiercely reclaims her child. Handing the child back to Walter, she tears off her sleeve and determinedly approaches the Bat Monster. To the monster's horror, it begins to retreat in panic. Maud quickly catches up, grabbing its tail and unleashing a torrent of angry punches. The men behind her can't help but show looks of terror. However, Maud was not satisfied with this. She even grabbed the Bat Monster's claws and directly pierced the Bat Monster's neck. The creature probably never realized that by snatching a child, it would meet its end at the hands of a furious woman. The protagonist of Shadow in the Cloud is Chloe Grace Moretz. Stripping away its sci-fi setting, the film is essentially a thrilling revenge story with a strong female lead, where the men are merely a backdrop. This also represents the greatness of maternal love, fierce and unyielding when it comes to protecting her child. The question of whether the film is good or not is left to you in the comments section.